I was reborn with Dino, but he doesn't know it. He thinks I'm still the love-obsessed person I was in my past life. I used to provide him with all the best things, send him to the best university, and even push my family to bankruptcy just to support his startup dreams. But in the end, he squeezed out all my value and then kicked me away. He even had the guts to show up with my arch nemesis, telling me he no longer needed to endure the humiliation my money brought him. This time around, I swear I won't give him a penny. When it was time to choose a sponsorship candidate, he stood before me all cocky and self-assured. But I deliberately skipped over him and picked the pitiful-looking kid beside him. At the annual charity event, I represented our company. To show how seriously we took our sponsored individuals, we'd select one candidate each year for one-on-one support. Last time, I picked Dino right out of the crowd among numerous candidates. Too bad he turned out to be ungrateful. Before heading over this time, I made sure to inform Selena. She's my nemesis and Dino's crush too. Dino had previously told me that Selena had a crush on him before I sponsored him. Supposedly, my money blocked their love story. This time, I want to see if Selena ever truly noticed him before Dino became my boyfriend. When Selena and I arrived at the charity hall, everyone was already there. Over 100 people stood, packed in like a swarm. I spotted Dino right away. Gotta admit, my taste isn't bad. He stands tall at about 6 feet, lean physique, and pale skin. Among the humble students, Dino looked like a stork standing tall. The moment he noticed I was looking at him, he stood even straighter, his chin raised higher. I knew he's been reborn too. He was once a billionaire CEO before suddenly being reduced to a broke student. Must be tough adjusting back. I walked in with enthusiasm. The school staff were warm and kept thanking our company for giving these students a chance to focus on their studies. Even strangers know gratitude. But Dino only saw my generosity as humiliation because of my feelings for him. This time, I decided to withdraw those feelings. Hope he's satisfied. I humbly said a few words about how this was our corporate social responsibility. Then, on to the next part. The school staff had shortlisted 10 candidates based on scores and awards. I had to choose one for one-on-one support. Sitting at the conference table, I watched as candidates lined up and introduced themselves. They were all impressive, just lacking resources to go further. Our goal for sponsorship is to give them that boat to cross their first river. The way they looked at me ranged from grateful to eager. Everyone knew that being chosen meant more resources and bigger opportunities. Soon, it was Dino's turn. He was undeniably brilliant, top 10 in academic performance, various state and national awards. The staff seemed optimistic, wanting him to say a few words to leave a good impression. But Dino wasn't interested. He coolly said hello and nothing more. The staff looked displeased. Dino didn't care a bit. He looked at me with disdain. In the past, I stopped after hearing Dino's introduction and chose him. He probably thought it'd be the same this time. Too bad. I turned and told the staff, let's move on to the next candidate. Dino was stunned but didn't leave immediately. The staff promptly urged, Dino, please don't hold up the line. Dino shot me a cold glance before leaving. See? Without me choosing him, he wouldn't even qualify to stand before me. I didn't bother looking at him and continued listening to the next candidates. After hearing them all, I chose William. He didn't have many awards, but he consistently ranked first in academics and was the only one with a scar on his face. Rumor had it, his alcoholic dad beat him. He didn't seem to expect much, but when I announced he was the chosen one, he looked at me with a quiet and steady gaze and simply said, thank you. Dino wasn't happy, sneering, just a bookworm. William pressed his lips together, uttering no word. I wasn't about to let it go. Are you verbally bullying your peer? I coldly asked the candidate. Dino looked at me in surprise, then gave me a smug look as if saying, oh, so you're trying to get my attention. I nearly gagged from disgust. Dino acted even cooler. I'm just being honest, Dino replied. So you really think you did nothing wrong? I couldn't be bothered to talk to him. I turned to the school staff. Is this the candidate you've selected? I have doubts about his morals for this sponsorship. We're looking to fund someone capable of passing on the goodwill. This student enjoys patronizing and mocking others. I doubt he'd help those less fortunate when he has the means. I intentionally put the blame on him. Given another chance, I'm not wasting my kindness on someone ungrateful. Sure enough, my words alarmed the school staff. One of them quickly intervened, asking Dino to apologize to William or his candidacy would be revoked. Dino glared at me with fury. But I didn't even spare him a glance. Wasn't he the one who said the money I spent on him was humiliating? Let's see if proud Dino will beg for a sponsorship he deems humiliating. I'm not apologizing, Dino stubbornly replied. Don't think you can make me submit with money. One day, Dino, will show y'all what it means when they say don't underestimate a poor young guy. Dino declared righteously. Everyone was left speechless. So, if we don't sponsor him, it's bullying? What nerve? Suddenly, there was an unexpected clap during the silence. It was Selena. As she clapped, she came over to me. Such a principled student, Lily, you shouldn't bully him. Selena played the nice card, backing Dino up, trying to make me the villain for picking on someone less fortunate. Seeing her, Dino's eyes lit up even more. He probably thinks his secret admirer is bravely standing up for him. Too bad Selena's little smirk told me she just wanted to annoy me with Dino. I wasn't going to be foolish like before and let her manipulate me with a few words. But it was him who refused to apologize first. I looked at Dino with a mocking gaze. Sure enough, he tilted his chin up and glared back. I didn't do anything wrong. I faked a helpless sigh. Our group won't sponsor someone who doesn't know how to get along with classmates. Then I switched my tone. Selena, since you think so highly of him, why not have your family sponsor him? Right after I said that, Dino's eyes shined, eagerly looking at Selena. But Selena hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. She finally mumbled, I'll discuss it with my family. Yeah, right. She's just an overlooked daughter in a side branch of her family. No way she can make that decision. But seeing Dino's smug look, as if he had another sponsor lined up, I kept quiet. I'm curious to see how far Dino goes without our family support. William and I got into Harvard, the top-notch school. Dino went to the university next door. He could have made it to Harvard too. But the other university offered scholarships, cheap room and board, and a monthly allowance. One day, William and I bumped into Dino. He gave William a once-over and sneered, pretty boy. This happened in a past life too. I liked him then and always found excuses to be around him. Rumors started flying that he'd latched onto a rich girl and was set for life. Once, at the cafeteria, someone called him a gold digger right in front of us. Dino's face went dark. As the person swaggered off, Dino turned and flipped my tray, yelling for me to stay away. Greasy food splattered onto me while everyone in the cafeteria watched. I still remember the humiliation. I wish I had slapped him right then. Hypocrite. When others insulted him, he got angry. Yet he didn't hesitate to insult someone in his old shoes. I was about to unleash on him. But William stepped forward, staring straight into Dino's eyes. You're jealous of me, he said calmly, like stating a fact. Dino stepped back, trying to keep his cool. What would I be jealous of? William moved closer. You're jealous because I got into Harvard and you didn't. You're jealous because Lily chose me, not you. You're jealous because I'm the one by Lily's side. I wanted to applaud William for pointing it out so clearly. Dino was obviously outmatched. He couldn't honestly say he chose to avoid Harvard. In the end, he just muttered that he didn't want to argue and fled. William then reined in his intense aura and returned to my side. Aren't you mad? I asked. I know it's not like that, William replied. Good. At least this time I picked a sensible one, not like the last guy who let a few words turn him into a traitor. I thought Dino, with his big ego, wouldn't bother me for a while. But I underestimated his persistence. He came to find me in the library while I was reading. "Lily, I'm giving you a chance to invest in my renewable energy company. If you put in $50 million, I'll give you 0.1% of the original shares." Dino stood at my table, leaning down, looking down at me with disdain, cool indifference, and a hint of arrogance. He had that overbearing CEO aura. But who asks for investments with such an attitude? I kicked the table leg and stood up. "You're too close." Dino's hand slipped, and he stumbled to catch his balance. Nice. His overbearing aura was still there, but not suffocating now. The students around us gave me annoyed looks for interrupting them. I apologized sincerely. "Sorry, this outsider was bothering me, and I couldn't hold back." "Who's bothering you?" Dino raised his voice. A few tall guys among the students immediately stood up. Dino quickly backed down. "Misunderstanding, misunderstanding." I assured them no problem, and they sat back down. Dino then lowered his voice, his tone threatening. "Lily, don't push it." I shrugged, letting him know his threats were useless. Dino, frustrated but patient, continued negotiating. "Lily, think it over. If you don't invest now, don't blame me when your family goes bankrupt later." Dino looked at me like a god gazing at a doll in his collection. Then I realized what he meant. In my past life, to support his startup, I pressured my family to invest everything we had into his company. Then, due to a cash flow problem, my family almost went bankrupt. It was his breakthrough in core technology during that time that secured new funding and got us through the crisis. No wonder he always acts so smug around me. Turns out he's been seeing himself as a savior to my family all along. But if it wasn't for giving him a huge amount of cash, why would my family have faced a cash flow problem in the first place? He's the type of person who, even if reincarnated, only remembers outcomes that benefit him. The process? Totally unimportant. Now that I've figured out how his mind works, I definitely won't be polite. "You want to secure investment? Do you have a company certification? A team? A business plan? An investment return report?" A series of questions, and Dino couldn't answer any of them. I looked at him with disdain. Coming to me for investment with nothing to show. On what grounds? Your looks? I was clearly trying to make fun of him. But who knows what he imagined, he just glared at me with a mix of shame and rage. "Lily, just because you have a little money doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. I will never bow to you. No investment? Fine. I'll be waiting for you to regret it." Then he jogged out of the library. Weirdly, it was kind of amusing, like some awkward comic relief. But honestly, cross my heart, I just don't want to spend money on him. Dino still landed an investment eventually. Heard Selena found him the funds, $5 million in exchange for 51% of his new company's initial stock. Dino suddenly became the talk of the school. He's in the best education program, but those classes are useless for his startup. He never even shows up for class. Teachers criticized him for neglecting his studies, but he just snapped back, asking how many years' salary it would take them to match his $5 million investment offer. And after that, no one bothered him again. I know about Dino's startup. He's smart. In his past life, he got into the new energy vehicle sector, focusing on battery endurance. Back then, I liked him and thought he was full of talent. I leveraged my family's connections to get him into Harvard's top energy science and engineering program. He stayed focused and studied for 4 years, then co-founded a company with his mentor after entering graduate school. But right now, he's just a freshman. Even with memories from a past life, can a seasoned CEO like Dino, now distanced from the technical frontlines, succeed on single-handedly developed tech? I'll be watching with interest. Dino assembled a startup team. He tracked down people he'd worked with in the past life. Sadly, only a few who were in similar situations joined him after he pitched to them. His past life mentor supposedly rejected him without even meeting. Seriously, that guy is a top guru in the field. Why would he pay any attention to an out-of-nowhere, broke student from a different school? I'm different. With alumni connections and $30 million in initial investment, I happily partnered with Professor Leo. I even got William in on the action since he's studying in the field. Joining Leo's team early means he can directly pursue a combined bachelor's, master's, and doctoral program. How great is that? Shortly after William joined, he started sharing stories about Dino from his seniors. Like Dino demanding, "I need all the competitors' data in 3 minutes." His seniors opened data statistic websites, typed away, hit the step requiring membership, turned the screen towards Dino. Dino's over-the-top arrogance vanished the moment he saw the membership cost, $300,000. In his past life with my family's backing, that'd be just free background data. But now, he's experiencing firsthand how pricey fresh data is. The membership wasn't purchased, obviously. An hour later, Dino handed them a list of companies to investigate their new products. But after much checking, they found scanned information, and one company hadn't even been established yet. When they reported back, Dino yelled at them for half an hour, insisting those companies were industry leaders, so there should have been more info. So much work, so little pay. His senior couldn't bear it and argued with Dino, quit, and then vented to William and the others, saying Dino's not CEO material but full of CEO issues. I personally think that's spot on. Dino's always been incredibly proud. In his past life, everything went smoothly because my family and I constantly supported him with our resources. Need data? The strategy department at our company was a yearly member of major professional databases. Need plans? 10 managers each specialized in different sections, compiled everything, and then Dino just presented it. Need tech breakthroughs? Dozens of tech experts in the lab worked tirelessly, but the patents were always under Dino's name. It was these people who gradually endowed Dino with his halo. Made him a tech whiz, a new business icon. Yet he always believed he was the one shining, illuminating others. At the time, my eyes were clouded, and I genuinely thought he was a diamond in the rough. Dino's startup team didn't last long. When they finally made some progress, someone took off with the core technology. Of course, Dino called it theft. In reality, they were patenting it while Dino wanted the credit. The person took the tech to some wealthy heirs company, earning 10 times what they'd make under Dino. Dino was livid, stormed into their company, got into a fight with the heir, and ended up in the hospital together. I got the news, quickly notified Selena, and we rushed to the hospital. In the past life, that heir didn't intend to let Dino off easily. I paid a huge price to save him. This time, I'm just gonna sit back and watch Selena handle it. In the hospital room, Dino lay there alone, with a cast on his leg, hanging above. On the other side, the rich kid sat in a wheelchair, head wrapped in layers of gauze, with a bunch of big, burly guys standing behind him. Dino's face turned white with fear. It was pretty scary. Last time, when I negotiated with them outside the hospital room alone, I was really scared. But this time, it's different. This time, I'm just here to watch the show. Dino relaxed a lot when he saw Selena and me. Especially when he saw me, his face even showed a kind of smugness, like he knew I couldn't let him go. There was even this slight annoyance, wondering why I showed up so late. I wanted to punch him so bad. The rich kid noticed his gaze and turned to ask me, "Are you his girlfriend?" I quickly waved my hands and backed up. "I'm just passing through." Dino glared at me, and when he saw Selena, his expression changed like he suddenly understood something. Probably thinking I was jealous. I quickly backed up a bit more, just to avoid catching his stupidity. Sure enough, the rich kid turned to Selena. Selena stepped forward. Dino looked at her with those love-struck eyes, dreamy and glowing. "Don't get it wrong. I'm just a regular classmate." It looks like there's some misunderstanding between you two. Maybe if you talk it out, it'll be fine. Selena turned sideways to face the rich kid, tucking her hair behind her ear and revealing her sharp jawline. Misunderstanding? I don't have any misunderstandings. He busted me up, and I'm here to get him to pay. The rich kid gave Selena a once-over, clearly up to no good. Selena blushed and looked down. The rich kid snorted. What, you gonna pay for him? Selena paused, still looking all soft and weak. Not really. Just wondering if you could maybe give him a break for my sake. The rich kid stroked his chin. All right. I was supposed to close a deal worth $1 billion. He busted my head, and I missed it. He should pay up. But for you, I'll knock it down by 10%, so just $900 million. Generous, right? The rich kid was being outrageous. Selena's expression changed, losing all its shyness in a flash. I'm not that familiar with him. You better talk directly to him about whatever you need. She said no more, walking out of the room without even a glance at Dino. The light in Dino's eyes visibly dimmed. With no one to stand up for him, the rich kid kept glaring at Dino like a predator. If you don't pay up to make me happy, I'll put you away. Same as last time. Even though both were injured, it was Dino who struck first. If the other side refused to settle, he would definitely face criminal charges. Dino knew this as well. Last time, I quietly traded my family's most profitable business line with the rich kid, not only saving Dino but getting back his core technology. This time, he had no money or power and still dared to go against a family business. He's probably still thinking I'll cover his back. Sure enough, Dino looked at me. Lily, if you help me with this, I'll be your boyfriend. He said it like admitting some huge shame, closing his eyes and turning away. Seriously. Last time, I kept quiet about the price I paid, worrying about his injury and stress. This time, though, I'm gonna make him see exactly what he's losing. I pretended to be interested, looking at the rich kid with urgency and asked in a really coy voice. So, what do you need to let him go? Turns out, someone over there recognized me. Instead of lowering the demand, the rich kid raised it. Oh hey, it's the young miss. Sorry for the oversight. Since we're all on the same side, let's not be petty about money. You want to save him? Fine, just hand over your family's retail channels. The rich kid grinned. Dino snapped his eyes open, turning his head abruptly. He knew what those retail channels meant, having run my company before. This. I feigned hesitation. Dino's expression clearly changed, starting to realize what I had given up for him last time. With Dino gazing at me, utterly moved, I playfully grinned. If he really were my boy toy, I might consider paying for him, but some people can't figure out their place and got themselves messed up. I don't have a thing for collecting garbage. I shot Dino a massive disdainful look and stormed out. Man, it felt fantastic. Dino didn't get locked up. The rich kid wasn't after money, he wanted Dino's project. Dino ended up handing his entire startup team to him, even signing away himself as an employee. Apparently, until graduation, he'd only be considered an intern, earning a measly $1,000 a month. When Selena found out, she flipped out on Dino. The $500,000 investment she made was from some rich boyfriend. Without any returns, only losses, he dumped her, suspecting she colluded with Dino to scam him. Upset, she naturally turned on Dino. Rumor has it they went back and forth a bit before Dino caved and gave her a $500,000 IOU. Given his current $1,000 monthly stipend, he's probably not paying that off in this lifetime. I laughed at Selena's stupidity. But soon enough, my laughter dried up. This shameless guy Dino came after me. Early one morning, I left the dorm to head to class. As soon as I stepped outside, there was Dino waiting, holding a little clear plastic bag with a couple of cafeteria-bought buns in it. Lily, he called out, running over. Here, your favorite buns. He handed them to me, trying to pull off some cool hair flip. I almost puked up yesterday's dinner. Dino wasn't dumb, he caught on to my disgust. His dark brows furrowed as he looked all annoyed. Don't like it? You used to. Stopped mid-sentence, worried he'd slip up. I saw him like that, trying not to spill the beans, and smirked inwardly. Used to? Yeah, in a past life. It was that time he tossed a tray at me in the cafeteria. I was humiliated, and swore off talking to him for a week. Heard he had a rough time that week. Couldn't stand it anymore and brought me breakfast. Just 2 cold-ass buns. Now, I wonder if they were his leftovers from the day before. But back then, I was smitten, thinking, oh my god, Dino actually bought me breakfast. I mean, it was Dino, he bought it just for me. I choked those buns down. Even when my stomach hurt for 3 days, I still happily followed Dino around. Makes me want to go back and slap my past self. I don't even like buns. She doesn't like buns. I turned around and found William behind me at some point. He was holding a pink thermos and a bottle of fresh milk. Told you, you don't need to buy me breakfast every day, I said, feeling a bit awkward. Skipping breakfast isn't good for your stomach. William handed me the milk. Once, when I had a stomach ache, he saw and I mentioned the missed breakfast might have done it. Ever since, he switches things up and gets me breakfast every day, never misses it. I took the milk. It was just right, tasted great too. Dino got no response, huffed in annoyance, and stormed off. On his way past a trash can, he slammed it hard. The buns hit the can and thumped onto the ground. He walked away without looking back. Rude. I grimaced. Wasting food's not okay. William handed me the lunchbox and went over to pick up the buns, took off the plastic, and left them where folks leave food for the stray cats. At that moment, he seemed to shine a little. Dino didn't give up. Always had a way to pop up out of nowhere, like a buzzing fly you just can't shoo. In class, he'd save a seat far off and wave at me. Complain to the teacher someone was distracting me. At the cafeteria, he'd let me cut in line. I just went to the 3rd floor cafe instead. When I went home on weekends, he'd wait downstairs, saying he wanted to hang out. Handed my bag to the assistant and got into the limo. I was beyond annoyed. William found out and spent more time with me. His schedule was packed, but he still made time without rushing. At night, we'd feed stray cats by the dorms. Little cats so cautious and yet greedy. I'd break fish sausages for them, luring them with the smell. Their little tongues were soft and tickly on my palm. Felt like my heart would melt. Found myself kind of jealous of a cat. William spoke so quietly, it was almost inaudible. I turned and saw his sparkling eyes. Didn't realize how close we were, shoulder to shoulder, felt his warmth through our sleeves. The breeze carried a fresh scent of grass and trees. But it wasn't the trees, it was William. A bit dazed, I looked up. What are you doing? A furious shout shattered the moment. Dino stood behind us, fuming. The cats scattered. Dino's eyes were locked on me, like he wanted to tear me apart. William stood and shielded me, and I tossed the remaining fish sausage away, stood up, and dusted my hands. And walked out from behind William. What gives you the right to question me? I said bluntly, staring Dino down. His voice was hoarse, like his throat was clenched. His face went from angry to confused to regretful, and finally, pained. You're mine, he insisted, like I was the most precious thing. Too bad, I didn't believe it. And even if it was true, it was too late. I gathered myself and turned towards William. Let's get going. William nodded. I'll watch you go up first. Okay. I headed up the stairs. Dino kept calling my name. I didn't pause or glance back. Dino's just a mud pit. In a past life, I fell in, got myself and my family into deep trouble. This time, I just have to avoid him. Dino stopped pursuing. William's visits stayed the same, though. Breakfast and evening strolls became our thing. Until one day, William was a no-show from morning to night. I started to worry and checked with his senior. Senior hadn't seen him in the lab either, and couldn't reach him for some materials. Used family connections to dig deeper. Turns out he left campus late last night and went missing soon after. Found his last whereabouts in a grimy alley. That's where William lived. Remembered his drunkard dad and William's bruised face the first time we met. Rushed over, taking some folks with me. The tiny, shabby house had black walls. A big drunk man was there, leaning against the wall with a bottle. He didn't bother with us, just shielded the sunlight and kept drinking. "Where's William?" I asked. He ignored me. A guy with me shook him a bit. Finally, he burped and drunkenly mumbled, "Taken away." Little punk thought he could hide. Didn't take long for someone to come asking him to pay up. Drunkard kept wobbling with the bottle. Something clicked, but slipped away just as quickly. In the end, it took someone slapping him a couple of times before he finally begged for mercy and gave up Michael's name, the creditor. I wasted no time and headed straight there with my crew. Michael saw the number of people I brought and only agreed to let me take one person inside to talk with him. I agreed without hesitation. William was locked in an empty room with just a table and a chair in the middle. He was sitting on the chair, with his head pressed against the table, staring at an IOU. His face and body were showing signs of blood, but he was gritting his teeth, not making a sound. The kid was pretty tough. Michael gestured, and his guys let William go. That's when William noticed me, and for a moment, his eyes flashed with anger. "How are you here?" William tried to get up, but he was pushed down hard. "Calm down, young man," Michael sneered. "Looks like your little fling has some good qualifications. Maybe she'll help you pay off your dad's gambling debt, and you too can leave peacefully. Wouldn't that be nice?" Michael then walked over, picking up the IOU and spreading it out in front of me. "Miss, judging by your attire, I'm guessing $100,000 or so isn't a big deal for you. Pay it off for the kid, and I'll see that you both get out of here respectfully, okay?" I glanced at the figure on the IOU, over $1.2 million. "I'll pay it," I agreed without a second thought. William's eyes darkened for a moment, then he suddenly started struggling violently. "Give me the IOU, I'll sign it." "Don't go after her." William's voice had a hint of sobbing. It broke my heart a bit, and I just wanted to pay up and take him away quickly. But then one of Michael's guys whispered something in his ear, and Michael's expression changed immediately. "Oh, a lady of distinction," Michael sneered, "my apologies." As he gestured, someone brought over a new IOU. "It's for 10 million, daily interest rate at 1%. Michael pointed to the signature line. "Just sign here, and we can talk." This was getting greedy. I pressed my lips together, not saying a word. Michael's guys began closing in. Meanwhile, my bodyguards were on full alert. As the standoff escalated, the door was suddenly broken down. It was the police. I'd made sure to call them before I went in. They didn't let me down. Michael's crew panicked. In their fluster, someone pulled out a gun and aimed it at me. When the gunshot rang out, my mind went blank. It wasn't until warm blood started dripping on my hands that I realized I was wrapped in a warm embrace. It was William. Michael got arrested. William ended up in the hospital. During the investigation, it was revealed that Dino had lured William out at night under the guise of delivering a message from William's father. Unfortunately, without proof, Dino couldn't be charged and left the station after giving a statement. But both William and I knew he was involved. Dino, shamelessly, visited William during his hospital stay. William, with an injured shoulder, was half reclining on the bed. I was feeding him bird's nest soup, and he looked a bit embarrassed at first. But when Dino walked in, William immediately took the spoon I handed him and slowly drank, signaling me for more. I was amused. Dino watched us, his face twisted with envy. Lily, what's so great about him? A gambler's son is worth all this? He sneered. Or is it that you enjoy the thrill of having poor boys at your mercy? Dino's words barely concealed his knowledge of his past life. His accusations were laughable to me. Amusement? I thought. In my past life, I sacrificed the whole company for him, and he calls that amusement? But I couldn't be bothered to argue. Dino, you're not welcome here. Please leave. This time Dino didn't immediately walk away. Instead, he approached and knelt beside me, trying to take my hand. I pulled back. He looked frustrated but tried to control his temper. Lily, please stop this. Let's go back to how things were. With you by my side, I'll never treat you poorly again. What do you say? His eyes were pleading. I gave him a smile, but then softly said, no. Just like how I'd pleaded in the past life for him to spare my family, to spare my parents, only for him to trample on my hand with Selena by his side, saying, no. William recovered quickly. On the day he got the all clear from the doctor, he was back in the lab. My parents were spooked by the incident with Michael, which meant I had to juggle my time between school and home. Life was otherwise peaceful. That was until one day when I noticed my dad looked worried. When I asked, I found out our family company was having problems. Long-term clients were suddenly poached. Our bids were consistently undercut, and even our once proud retail channels were being interfered with. The interference wasn't just from anyone, it was from the rich kids who had a beef with Dino. They were messing with us but not causing any major harm, just being incredibly annoying. My dad was tired of handling these minor issues, so he left them to me. I knew Dino was playing dirty tricks using memories from his past life, but there wasn't any concrete evidence. So I chose to focus on the renewable energy project. Dino's team had been struggling since getting picked up by the rich kids. After hitting several roadblocks, he thought of Professor, whom I had collaborated with, and tried contacting him. But little did he know, the professor shared the whole story with me like a joke. When that didn't work, he turned his eye to William's senior colleagues. William mentioned that someone seemed tempted, but no actions had been taken yet. I was considering having Professor remove that senior colleague from the project. However, I asked William to keep an eye on him without alerting anyone. Our renewable energy project quickly made progress. The professor and his students filed for a joint patent. As soon as it was granted, Dino accused the professor and my family of stealing his team's technology and sued us. He even roped in the senior colleague he had bribed as a witness. Not stopping there, Dino took the story public, attempting to damage our family company's reputation through public opinion and media attacks. Lily, as long as you come back to me, I'll drop the lawsuit. Before the trial, Dino looked at me with a determined expression. What a joke. In my past life, I followed him wholeheartedly, and he tossed me aside like trash. This time around, I've been suppressing him at every turn, yet he seems desperate to find me. Keep dreaming. I smirked coldly and brushed past him. In the courtroom, Dino was arrogant. He came armed with all kinds of data comparisons, trying to prove they developed it first. Meanwhile, we only presented two pieces of evidence. One was video footage. It showed a senior student who had been bribed, secretly copying lab data, and handing it over to Dino. The other was a true comparison of core data. What the senior copied wasn't the real data at all. And Dino, using two completely different sets of data, accused us of plagiarism. The verdict was a no-brainer. Plus, our lawyer filed a countersuit right there. Dino had instructed someone to steal data, which was unfair competition. Accusing us of plagiarism without cause was slander. Spreading false info online damaged our reputation. Several charges were filed, and a case was opened on the spot. Even though they couldn't rule right away, Dino wasn't getting away. Before the verdict was announced, Dino asked to see me one last time. I went. William went too, waiting for me not far away. Dino watched William walk off, sneering. Didn't expect you'd still like a poor guy. I knew he'd realized I experienced a rebirth too. Ingratitude and betrayal are character flaws, not poverty problems. I couldn't bother hiding anymore. You really were reborn. You're like me, we're the same kind. Dino looked at me intensely. I'm just curious how thick-skinned he must be to imagine I'd still have a change of heart for him. Dino. It was rare I called his name. He turned to me with hopeful eyes. I smiled. Don't know if you remember, but there's still a promissory note for 500 grand you owe. Dino's face went blank with shock. And I didn't feel like playing nice anymore. Dino, seeing you like this now actually makes me happy. In my past life, I liked you, which made you feel above me. It was my affection that let you climb to a height that wasn't yours. And you weren't grateful, you thought my support was dirty. Since you dislike it so much, you should have just told me. You enjoyed all my efforts while wishing to bury me in the mud. Having another chance, I didn't owe you anything. I've just taken back what was once given to you. But look. I smiled softly. This is where you were meant to be all along. Dino fell, dejected and defeated. He could no longer maintain the pride I'd once nourished with love and money. William came to pick me up. He didn't spare Dino a glance, his heart and eyes full of me. I'm a poor guy. He looked down, eyelashes drooping, a little dejected. I was about to comfort him. But then he looked up, grinning at me. But I won't be forever. He waved his phone at me, showing a text message. Your new patent application has been approved.